Hey, welcome to our explainer. Today, we are cracking open the case file on one of the oldest, biggest questions in all of philosophy. Where did all of, well, this come from? We're going to do a deep dive, a logical investigation into the idea of the first cause. Okay, so let's just jump right in with a super simple idea. You know how dominoes work, right? One falls, it hits the next, and so on and so on. The first cause argument basically takes that idea and applies it to the entire universe. It says that every single event, every star being born, every atom moving, is part of this gigantic cosmic chain of cause and effect. But a chain has to start somewhere, doesn't it? So this is the classic argument, and it's usually laid out in 4 simple steps. Step 1, every event has a cause. Seems pretty obvious, right? Things don't just happen for no reason. Step 2, you can't have an endless chain of causes stretching back into the past forever. That's a concept called an infinite regress, and it's a logical headache. If the chain never started, how did we get to today? So that leads to step 3. There has to be a very first cause, something that wasn't caused by anything else to kick the whole thing off. And traditionally, as you see in step 4, that first uncaused cause gets a name: God.
Seems pretty airtight, doesn't it? Well, not so fast. Like any good detective story, this is where a major plot twist comes in. Investigators, philosophers, found a huge problem with this logic, a really glaring inconsistency that kind of threatens to blow the whole case wide open.
So the whole objection comes down to this one thing, a logical foul called special pleading. It's basically when you make up a rule for everyone else, and then you say, oh, but that rule doesn't apply to me. It's like saying, nobody is allowed to eat the last cookie, and then you eat it yourself. Critics say the first cause argument does exactly this. And here's how that critique breaks down. First, there's the inconsistent premise. If your starting rule is everything needs a cause, then why does God get a free pass? Second, you've got what's called the brute fact objection. If you're willing to accept that one thing can just exist without a cause, God in this case, then why not just stop a step earlier and say the universe itself is the thing that exists without a cause? Why add the extra step of a creator? And finally, you run into the problem of complexity. The argument suggests that complicated things need a cause. But wouldn't a being that can create an entire universe be the most complex thing imaginable? So wouldn't it need an even bigger cause? You see the problem. So yeah, faced with all that, the original argument kind of hits a brick wall. It seems like a dead end. But this is where our investigation takes a really interesting turn. A different perspective, this one from the Quran, tries to solve these problems, not by answering the questions directly, but by completely reframing the debate itself. This approach introduces a pretty radical idea. It says that the creation of the universe wasn't just another event happening inside of time. It was the act that created time and space and causality itself. Think of it this way. The creator didn't just light the fuse on a firework. They designed and built the firework, the fuse, and the very air it explodes in. So this is the absolute key to understanding this framework. It makes a fundamental distinction between the creator and the creation. The universe is described as contingent, meaning it depends on something else for its existence. And it's temporal. It exists inside of time. The creator, on the other hand, is defined as necessary, meaning its existence is totally self-sufficient, it doesn't depend on anything, and eternal, meaning it exists outside of the timeline it created. They are, by definition, in 2 completely different categories. And this Quranic concept, as-samad, is absolutely central here. It really nails down this idea. It defines the first cause not as the first domino to fall in a long line, but as the independent, self-sufficient reality that set up the whole game board, created the dominoes, and wrote the laws of physics that decide how they fall. Okay, so let's take this new framework and put it to the ultimate test. Let's go back to that one killer question that seemed to break the original argument. That big gotcha question that critics always pull out. This is it. This is the question that seems to expose the whole thing as a sham. If God is the first cause, what caused God? What was there before God? But now, with this new way of looking at things, does that question even make sense anymore? And from this perspective, the answer is startlingly simple. The question itself is broken. It's not that it's a hard question to answer, it's that it's logically nonsense. It's like asking someone, what does the color blue taste like? And here's why the question just fails.
The whole premise here is that the creator is the source of time itself. Step 2, the word before only has any meaning within the context of time. So, step 3, asking what came before the very thing that created time is what's called a category error. It's exactly like asking what's north of the North Pole. The question self-destructs because it uses a concept, north, at the one point in the entire system where that concept is meaningless.
So, what's the final verdict from our investigation? Well, it seems the entire case hinges on how you define your terms. Is the special exception for a first cause just an arbitrary trick, or is there actually a logical reason for it?
This table lays out the two competing explanations really nicely. On one side, you've got a view pretty common in modern physics, which we're representing here with Lawrence Krauss. It basically says the laws of physics are the ultimate brute fact. They just are. The universe pops out of a quantum vacuum because the laws allow it. On the other side, you have the Quranic view. It argues that those very laws of physics aren't a brute fact at all. They are the methodology, the command of a creator.
And this passage really gets to the heart of that idea of a non-arbitrary distinction. By defining the creator as fundamentally unique and absolutely independent, it's arguing that this being is in a category all by itself, completely separate from the creation and the rules that govern it. And that is the proposed solution to that whole special pleading fallacy we talked about earlier. So this brings us to the key takeaway. Look, the point of this whole analysis isn't to prove one side is right. It's all about logical consistency. Within this theological framework, making an exception for the first cause isn't an arbitrary, lazy fallacy. It's a logical requirement. I mean, it makes sense, right? The author of a rulebook isn't bound by the rules inside it. And that really leaves us with the ultimate question. We live in a universe that is run by these unbelievably elegant and consistent laws. So what's the final answer? Are those laws just a brute, uncaused fact of reality? Or are they the deliberate signature of an uncaused author of reality? That one, I'll leave with you. Thanks for joining me on this one.